Hello everyone, it's Logan, back with another album ranking video. Today, to celebrate the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, I will be ranking all of the albums that I listened to in 2024 that also came out in 2024. This consists of a total of 21 different albums all released in the past year. And before I rank them, I just want to list them out in the order that I listened to them. Note, this is not the order that these albums came out, just the order that I reviewed them. There is Vultures 1 by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign. There is Radical Optimism by Dua Lipa, Neon Pill by Cage the Elephant, Return to Olympus by James Padgett, Vultures 2 by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign, The Human Animal by Rare Americans, Hotel La Rut by Joanna Wong, Like All Before You by The Voids, Dive by Almost Monday, Moon Music by Coldplay, Life in the Wires by Frost, Critterland by Willie Carlisle, Chromacopia by Tyler the Creator, From Zero from Linkin Park, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose, 13-inch Frank Beltrame Italian Stiletto with Bison Horn Grips by Shoo Shoo, Folenium by TV Girl and George Clanton, The New Sound by Jordy Greep, Rat Taxi by Louis Zong, Lives Outgrown by Beth Gibbons, and Harbor Century by Unix. Forgive me for any mispronunciations of any of those. I might have gotten some of them a bit off. But those are the 21 that we'll be looking at today and ranking. Just as a reminder, this is just my opinion. Feel free to like any of these records or dislike any of the ones that I liked. Feel free to disagree with my opinions. I'd actually like to hear what you guys think in the comments, what you agree with, what you disagree with, as I think this was a very interesting year for music, at least from what I listened to. If I don't like an album, that doesn't necessarily mean I don't like the artist or don't respect what they're doing. Yeah, that's about it. Let's get into this for number 21. As a final note, this is going to be a pretty short video if I can help it. I'm just going to kind of speed run through these, as I'll be talking about all of them in my upcoming ranking video, which is going to come out sometime in the future, so it's going to be pretty short.
5:30, the call missing. No text backs or call missings. I feel like we all victims. Nights been getting long.
Coming in 21st place, last place, my least favorite record that I listened to that came out this year, it's Vultures 2 by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign. A lot of it was, unfinished when I listened to it. I kind of went back to a couple tracks that I heard improved, but I still wasn't impressed by almost any of it. The AI verse definitely doesn't help in Sky City. There isn't much to talk about here. There's just a lot of stuff that I didn't like. Even my favorite track, 530's, basically unfinished. So it was a pretty easy last place pick for me.
I wanna dive into a dream that I long to see.
Coming in number 20 is Dive by Almost Monday. This is just kind of a pop record that I really did not care for pretty much at all. The clip that I used in the intro is kind of not indicative of the entire album, as that was kind of the most interesting track, but it was kind of just an intro. It wasn't even much of a song, because most of the tracks on here are just kind of commercial pop music that I really couldn't give that much care to. In 19, Return to Olympus by James Padgett. I think I've given James Padgett a little too much hate in the past. Still not huge on his music, but it definitely has a purpose. There's definitely something there that I didn't quite pick up in past rankings. Still not big on it. Still think it's a little long and a little boring, but there's interest to be had in this album now that makes it past the previous two. Number 18 is The Human Animal by Rare Americans. This record followed up Searching for Strawberries, which I obviously did not like pretty much at all. Although this record is an improvement, it still has a lot of the same pitfalls that Rare Americans keeps getting into with their record. There's a lot of really corny stuff on here, a lot of stuff I just really dislike. Although I don't really think Rare Americans will ever get quite as good as they were in some of their early work, there is improvement here. It is better, although it's still kind of just eh.
Burning like a candlelight. Your love is dangerous. Your love is our love is our love is burning like a
Coming in number 17 is Vultures 1, Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign. Similar thing to Vultures 2, although this one's just far better. There's more songs on here that are actually like pretty decent that I don't mind. There's some good production on this album. Unfortunately, there's also some really not good production on this album, like with like Hood Rat and the like. There's a lot of stuff on this album that kind of makes me avoid it. I mean, I don't have much to say about Vultures 1 anymore. It's just all right at points. I don't really care to revisit it. Coming in number 16 is the new Voids project, Like All Before You. Although it's not the worst record of the year, this one, for many, is maybe one of the most disappointing. I loved Tyranny and Virtue, so I was excited for this, and although it's not the worst thing, it's not great. Julian Casablancas does some weird vocal stuff on a lot of tracks, like with Square Wave. And a lot of this album is just kind of not near the quality that the previous two were. There's some songs on here like that I like Flexorcist or Seven Horses, but overall this record falls flat in quite a couple of areas. Number 15, this one might turn some heads. It's Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator. I just never got into Tyler, the Creator that much outside of Igor. That's no secret to people who I talk to with music. I just have trouble getting into a lot of his music, and this record's not an exception to that. I mean, there's great production stuff. I can recognize why people like it, but me personally, I'm just not able to really get into a lot of his tracks, so it's going to be pretty low for me here, unfortunately. And number 14, Moon Music by Coldplay. This is their record following Music of the Spheres, which I've hated on pretty heavily in the past. And this is a very big improvement. It's not incredible, but it's much better. It's still not great, but it surpassed my expectations, to be perfectly honest. There's tracks on here like Alien Hits that I think are like really good for like no reason. But I mean, there's still kind of the pop sort of soulless thing that Coldplay sometimes does on other tracks on here. So there's some good, there's some bad. Going forward, I have no idea. I think Coldplay's doing another space-themed album. I guess we'll see how that goes. But if it's going to continue this trend, I will probably listen to it because it might be even better.
You gonna do something about it or shake like a dog who has his fucking head kicked in? I push him off the fucking boat! I'm sailing to wait to the
Next, in number 13, is Harbor Century by Unix. This one's just a shame because I love the opening track, Magic, or what is it, C, Magic Death Monster? I'm getting that wrong probably, but that is just an incredible song, I think. And then as you go through the album more and more, I feel like the songs just get worse and worse until you reach the 17-minute finale, Heroine King, which I really do not care for at all. There's certain songs that don't need to be super long, and that feels like a prime example to me. I also have some issues with some of the lyrics in here. Sometimes it just feels like it's like being way too much, and it just doesn't feel quite justified to me at times. So although I like the sound they're going for at times, at other times it just doesn't work, and it sucks having to listen to a record where it slowly gets worse and worse and worse. in number 12, Millennium by TV Girl and George Clanton. No, I enjoy this record. It's a good, like, if I'm in the mood for it, it's a nice thing to put on. Some catchy tunes, some nice production. No songs on here that I really hate, but none that I am especially crazy for. Just a nice vibe for like 30 minutes. It's a pretty short album. Yeah, I don't have much to say about it. It's just a nice listen. If you like TV Girl or George Clanton, their type of music, this is right up your alley. From Zero by Linkin Park. I was very skeptical going into this record. I loved Chester Bennington's vocals, and I was like, I didn't know what to expect going into this with a new vocalist. But it was pretty decent. Not nearly as good as Chester Bennington, in my opinion, but surprisingly all right. I enjoyed many of the tracks. Some of them were a little corny, not quite One More Light corny, but still took away from the experience a little bit. But there's still great tracks on here, like Two-Faced and The Emptiness Machine, and I liked Cut the Bridge. So overall, surprisingly good, in my opinion. I quite enjoyed it, so it's going to land there. Starting off the top 10 albums that I listened to is going to be Rat Taxi by Louis Zong. I kind of just stumbled upon this and thought the record cover was like kind of interesting, and I thought it was pretty funny. So I just kind of went through it because it's a pretty short record, and I really enjoyed it. It's mostly instrumental. There's one track with lyrics on it, but the instrumentals were super enjoyable, and they kind of follow this idea of like being a rat taxi driver, and I don't know how to explain it, but the music does capture that idea quite well. And I honestly think it's a whole lot of fun listening to it front to back. So yeah, I had no complaints. This was pretty fun to listen to. Number 9 is Radical Optimism by Dua Lipa. I thought this record was pretty underrated. Personally, I think there's some great tunes on here, some great production, just really catchy, and I don't quite understand the hate that it gets. It's a little generic at times, but honestly, I just think all the songs on here are catchy, with the exception of maybe one or two, and I enjoy listening to all of them.
So I just float into the sky. I just float into my mind. Till everyone.
Number 8, Neon Pill by Cage the Elephant. I do like this record. A lot of good tracks on it. Couple of ones that aren't great, which is kind of Cage the Elephant's sort of thing with their albums. This felt a lot like Social Cues from 2019, but just a little worse, which is kind of a bummer. But that being said, it's not the worst album from Cage the Elephant by any means. It's still decent. It's good. It's not incredible. It's not Cage the Elephant's best, but I enjoyed it.
I have done almost nothing right. My entire adult life.
Number 7 is 13-inch Frank Beltrame. I'm not reading the entire title. By Shoo Shoo. Yeah, this one is a bit divisive for me. There's some tracks on here that I think are just incredible, like Arp Omni, One Chord Maestro, was it Peanut, Coconut, and Cherry, Beneficium, probably mispronouncing that. But those 4 tracks, incredible. Super experimental at times, really abrasive, but also other tracks that I mentioned are super sweet and just lush, like Arp Omni. That being said, although there's these great tracks, they're kind of balanced out by tracks that I really do not care for at all. They just they're experimental in a way that is just too much for me. They don't really click the buttons that I find in good music. So, this is an album I probably won't be re-listening to in its entirety, but there's select tracks on here that I'll probably listen to a lot. Number 6, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to by Knocked Loose. I don't have much experience with metalcore albums, but I enjoyed this quite a lot. On first listen, it was a bit much, but it's really growing on me the more and more I sit with it. Most of the tracks on here are really good. They have their own unique sort of thing, and they're really intense, obviously being metalcore. Overall, it was just pretty great. It wasn't like the best, but it was pretty amazing. Lives Outgrown by Beth Gibbons. This record, I just really enjoyed it. I think Beth Gibbons has an incredible voice, and so even tracks on here that are boring or would be boring, or at the very least pleasant to listen to. That being said, there aren't a lot of boring tracks on here, despite it being very soft and slow for most of the runtime. Tell Me Who You Are Today is a great opener. Whispering Love's an incredible closer. And then there's plenty of tracks in the middle that are just super good. I love Reaching Out. I love Floating on a Moment. I love Rewind. They're all just really pleasant to listen to and have nice lyrics, and Beth Gibbons kind of being the cherry on top with just a great voice to listen to. Coming in number 4, this is kind of now getting into the territory of albums I really, really thought were just far and away incredible. Starting with Life in the Wires by Frost. Yeah, I'm really glad I listened to it. I was a bit unsure, but I decided to. It's a long record, it's a double LP, and I'm surprised to say that the production was probably my favorite part of this record, because with a lot of other Frost records, I'm usually not a huge fan of the mixing. Sometimes the vocals are buried, sometimes it just doesn't sound great, but this one just sounds incredible. It's a bit of a surprise, and each track kind of offers something unique. There's a lot of back and forth between these really heavy, more, not metal, but just heavier tracks like Moral and Consequence, Life in the Wires Part 1 and 2, Idiot Box, and then softer tracks like Strange World or Sign of Life. And, I mean, honestly, I think it's really good the way it goes back and forth a lot. So, honestly, I just really enjoyed this record, although some of the songs might have went on a little too long, I guess.
Oh, that's what she did after school. That's what she did after school. With her desire to love other girls and
Number 3, Hotel La Rut by Joanna Wong. This record, I just really enjoyed it. I was kind of hooked by the cover, because it was a very unique cover, and I'm like, I gotta listen to what this is. And I just kind of enjoyed it pretty thoroughly. There's a bit of a section in like the second half where there's a bit of a couple of songs I don't care for in a row, but outside of that, I think most of the songs on here are honestly really incredible, even if they're short, because a lot of these are like bite-sized songs. Short, there's like a lot of them on the album, so if something isn't to your fancy, at least it's over quick, and you'll get on to the next song pretty soon. But yeah, I really enjoyed this record.
You imagine a roaming camera that captures your melancholy. You walk the streets that stink of disease. You turn up your color lights.
Next, in number 2, is The New Sound by Jordy Griep. I think this is an album I need to sit with a bit more in order to really fully appreciate it, because there's just so much going on in this record. It's so dense, with just jazz, rock, and then Jordy Griep just saying stuff, and kind of going a bit manic at times. Couple of long songs on this record that I think work really well. I mean, there's not really much that I dislike here. The worst songs on here are just kind of pretty good, as opposed to great. Pretty good, front to back, if not great.
Thank God forgiveness comes in so many shapes. I've been traveling in anger, trying to ditch the shade.
And then finally, in the number 1 spot, my favorite album that came out this year that I've listened to thus far is Critterland by Willie Carlisle. if you would have told me a year ago that my favorite album of the year would have been a country album, I would have called you crazy. I'm not a big fan of country, at least contemporary country. I decided to give this one a shot because I wanted to expand my musical horizons a little bit and go into country that wasn't contemporary country, see if maybe I'll like it. And to my surprise, I really enjoyed this record. I mean, every song on here is super emotional and just super sweet to listen to. Not a bad track. The track listing is very good. There's sad songs and there's more upbeat songs that kind of intersplice them, I guess. But even then, the happy songs are more bittersweet. And then it ends with this kind of, it's more poetry, like spoken word story. That's just kind of a great conclusion to this record. I'm yet to find another country album that I'm like this into. So I hope this isn't just like a flash in the pan for this genre for me, but man, I really do enjoy this record pretty thoroughly, and so I'm going to put it top spot 2024. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this was kind of a shorter video, but I just want to keep it short, make a little video, and tell you guys what I've been listening to this year. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments, what albums that I listened to that you liked, which ones that I listened to that you didn't like, and then which ones that I didn't listen to. Maybe some suggestions. Maybe I'll listen to them. We'll see. I'm a bit sick of 2024 music for the time being, so I'm going to be listening to maybe some older stuff, but who knows. I'd like to hear what you guys are listening to this past year that you liked. And with that, I don't really have anything else to add. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.